Hello there and welcome back to the Inner Sanctum, the place where I show you all my tricks while I pull them off live right in front of you. And today we're going to be continuing working on this track that I started off 2 weeks ago, exclusively using Bitwig Studio, which happens to be a weird-ass, super forward-thinking digital audio orchestration that specializes itself, or at least I think they feel proud of themselves, by having huge amounts of modulation, because in my head, this thing is closer to an instrument than it is to a DAW. What do you think about that statement, Tiago Bergamini, the stunning bread, when you got a set time beautiful?
Hello, girls and boys. How's it going? Very glad you're back. Great to have you here as well. And I think it feels sensible to treat Bitwig as an instrument, because I'd say DAW-wise, and even something I'm gonna turn into a question.
Go.
How effective do you think it is, seeing it as a DAW, not looking at it from the perspective of an instrument as you were putting it?
Don't know, actually, because the way I see this guy, and we will elaborate more once we begin messing around with it. I see this guy as how can I put it, like a sequencer of sorts, some form of main brain for a synthesizer-based system.
Yeah.
Of course, with the capability of controlling not only the analog stuff, because actually it does. It's capable of controlling analog synthesizers, just these ones, through the use of CV. Yeah, you can send CV information, if you know what that means, voltage controlled stuff, through the use of your interface. It's super clever. Yep. So with that being said, let's continue. Here we go. So welcome back to Bitwig Studio. In front of us, we got the project that we're going to use to create a piece. I'm going to briefly press play just for us to have an idea of what kind of sound we already created. The point, at this stage, we only use a pad. We created a pad through the use of the sampler, and it sounds like this. Here we go. Sounds very cool, right?
Yep.
And I don't know if you realize that I didn't play anything. The whole thing was doing its own thing. Why? Because in Bitwig, you got plenty of ways for you to automate, or let the machine do its thing. Here, you got, if you click on any of the different clips, because this area is the clip launcher, and if you're thinking, is there any way for you to record? Yes, there is. Here's the traditional arrangement, the linear one. But right now, we're dealing with this because this is a great way for you to come up with ideas. And what I'm doing with this guy is using this next action, because this is the action triggering, and you can actually set each of these cells to trigger a different action. In this case, I am using what is known as a block to shoot or to trigger a different clip that is part of a block. What is a block? Anything that is close to another clip. Okay, so it's a clip that is connected to another one just by proximity. If you create a new clip over here, this is a new block. And if I have one here, that's part of the same block. Get it?
Makes sense, yes.
Okay. I'm using it like this because I want to start to... I use this particular feature to create a path. I added some form of... I have different notes being triggered by the different cells. That allowed me to focus. You can see that last weeks in the previous session of this session, how I used that particular feature of Bitwig to let me focus on the sound crafting element of the sound rather than keep playing notes. Get me?
Yeah.
So what we're gonna be doing today, we're gonna start to build upon this foundation. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove the random on each of these blocks. Why? Because I want to add some form of harmonic pattern to each of the different sounds that we got here. And we're going to be building upon this foundation. Because I like this path. It's actually quite, how can I put it, spacey, right?
Yeah, it's quite layered as well.
It's very layered, so it has plenty of motion. So we're going to start to build the song around this concept. So let's begin. First thing first. Let's create a little bit of a bass line, because we need a little bit of a bass line to begin with, because it's actually bass and drum is actually the foundation for any musical endeavor, believe it or not. And but don't fall for the propaganda coming from drummers. They think of themselves as being important. In reality, they can be replaced by a computer. So
Said the truth.
they are that important. So let's begin. Look, so here's what I'm gonna do. We haven't used the sampler yet, so let's use the sampler. I'm gonna be using first Mega Sampler. Mega Sampler is actually a plugin, but it's a sampler. Okay. And it allows for downloading samples from the library. It's very good. It's very good, and actually you can apply effects before exporting the sample out.
And I can already see that the selection of effects is quite cool up there.
It's very good, right?
Yeah.
It's actually very, very good. Why? Because this is actually mini versions of most of BrainWorks' plugins, which are great. Let's begin. First, I'm going to make sure that you can hear it on your end, because otherwise you won't. Let me just confirm my output. I'm going to output this guy to the summing bus, which is the one that is actually feeding over on your end. So let's begin. I'm going to open once again Mega Sampler. Here is perfect. Let it load. Perfect. Let's go for library, for browse, and here bass, electric bass, precision bass. Why? Because I have a precision bass that I love, and I am quite familiar with the sound. Let's see. Okay, I like that one because it actually has a little bit of motion to it and a little bit of rhythm. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
So let's deal with this one. I'm gonna drag it. I'm gonna put it here. And now let's go back to the sampler player, and which note is triggering this one? Let me check on my keyboard. Okay, is this C? I think it's C3. So I'm gonna close sampler for now. Now wait a second. Let's keep rocking with the Mega Sampler. I'm gonna be testing different sections of the Mega Sampler, and we should be louder over here because I need to feel the music. I think the final section could get in the way. This area over here of the harmony. I'm gonna cut it off all the way down here. Let's see. Kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Now let's see in context. I'm gonna press play. But I'm gonna remove Mega Sample for now. And I'm gonna get this guy to cycle. I'm gonna get this sound cycling, and I'm gonna press play, and I'm gonna press the notes so we can hear the sound of the bass alongside the harmony. Okay.
Okay. Is there such tempo?
It's set to tempo.
Okay.
Because let me show you. Good question. You can see that it has kind of transient information, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can actually use this to move to change the way that the sampler is gonna slice the different sections. Okay. So here we go. I'm gonna bring back, make sure that this guy is playing. It works, right?
Yeah.
But it's not in tune. Could you hear it?
I didn't notice, being very honest.
There is a little bit of discrepancy with the tuning. Pay attention. Here we go. The path, it's a little bit higher pitched than the bass. Let's fix it. Easy. I'm gonna get rid of this guy for now. Let's go to the path. And clearly, we haven't done anything regarding the tuning. So let's mess around with it. To my ears, it's slightly lower. It's slightly higher pitched. The sound of the pad in relationship to the sound of the bass. So I'm gonna lower it. Let's say 10 cents. Here we go. Close, but not close enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just lower it a little bit more. Let's see.
You went kind of ballistic, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit less intense. Let's 23. Here we go. Yeah, it's quite similar. So let's go back to the mega sampler, because the benefit of this is that we can always fine tune it as time goes on. Okay. And why is it out of tune? Because when you sample stuff, uh, when you deal with the stretching and mangling the sound, mangling the actual sample, part of what you have to do is applying a little pitch shifting. Even though Bitwig is trying to correct it as much as possible and keep them in tune, sometimes those artifacts happen. Okay, and it's part and parcel of dealing with samples. But actually, when you detune it, you start to create even more artifacts, and you create more textures. So it's actually fun. So let's see. I'm gonna try to find a better sound because it really sounds quite good. Kind of groovy, right? It's kind of fast. Let's try to get some. What do we have here? A little bit of compression, and then a little bit of maybe. I don't think it is needed. A little bit of distortion as well. First, let's compress. Let's see. A little bit of a fast attack, slow release, and reach you probably somewhere here. Let's see. And of course, we gotta turn on the master effects. Okay, I think I'm gonna let the attack breathe a little bit more so we can get a little bit more of the transients. Bypass. Damn! Nice, right?
Yep.
Very cool. Now let's add a little bit of distortion. Let's play with the pentode and saturation. Yeah, that could be enough. Let's see. Of course.
Yep.
Let's control the output and also lower saturation. That was a little too much. Getting somewhere, right?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too much too.
It's just a little bit too hot, but I think it's getting there. I like that one. Let's confirm that we got the same volume. The difference is great.
Yep.
Plenty of character, right?
Yep. Yeah. Now it's there.
Now it's pod racing. Okay,
Let
so
me just, I'm
go
gonna,
ahead.
Go for the headphones so I can make sure that it's translating correctly because Mute-O-Matic is not actually active when we're playing like this.
No,
right?
it's not active.
Okay, let me
Just do it. So as he does his stuff, it's actually getting there. So I like it quite a lot. So let's create a note here. So we don't have to be messing with this again. As I said, it should be this guy. Yeah, C3. And I think the length of this is 2 bars. Is there? So let's see. I'm gonna press play, and we should be able to let the entire scene to play by its own. Okay, give me a second. You got monitors on.
Okay, very good.
Got it.
Yeah, but our voices are not coming through this monitoring.
Or not?
No.
Give me a second. Now you should be able to hear me.
Now it's correct, yes.
Perfect. Here we go. Going through, right?
Going through, yes.
Perfect. Okay. I like it, but I don't want to be dealing with a MIDI signal. What I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this into a sample. Right-clicking. And what we're going to be doing is easy. Bouncing place. Pre-effects. Or why do we got this option? More on that later. You'll see. Bam. Now we got in the same channel. The MIDI channel is actually rocking a sample.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is, right? For the time being, I'm going to turn off Mega Sampler because we're not going to use it. Let's see. And I think we went a little bit to... You know what? I'm going to resample the whole thing again. Let's do it because I don't like how the sample ended up being recorded. I'm gonna turn on the sampler. Now I'm gonna make sure that we got our metronome on and 1 bar because I'm gonna record it with my keyboard here. So here we go. I'm gonna just make sure that we got from the beginning. Stop all the way from the top. Perfect. Here we go. Now, now let's see because I think I don't like the sample yet. Let me see. Okay. No, it's correct. It's correct. Now let's see. Take a look at this guy. Zoom in. Here's the thing. Here's. So we got this length. Now let's address this. I'm gonna turn this into sample. Bouncing please. Perfect. Now let's see. I'm gonna turn off mega sampler. Awesome. And just make sure that this thing loops the entirety of the sample, just to make sure. That's how you sample stuff in Bitwig. Aren't you fascinated by it?
Yeah, it's actually very, very interesting, and it's quite intuitive is not the word, but it feels like the whole ecosystem pushes you to do it.
Yeah, because no, you'll see what we're gonna be doing later. This is actually insane.
But are you already going polyrhythm? Because the bass line is kind of 3/4.
Yeah, but it has you know me.
Yeah,
I can't avoid it. Let's go. Yeah, okay. So now we got this sample. I want to play the same sample. I want to play the same bass line, but in the second section, right? You simply copy it. And let's trigger this entire scene. I'm just gonna make sure that the scene is looping, but make sure that everything loops. Here we go. It's out of tune. Of course, because it's not in the same pitch.
Yeah.
Right? So, how to fix it? Easy. Entering the powerful edit mode. What is that? You might be asking. This is fantastic. Because let's change the pitch. I'm going to select my sample, and you can see that my inspector is already giving me all sorts of shenanigans. What are we going to do first? We want to change the pitch, right? Adjust it to the sound of this particular section of the track. Well, just turn on pitch.
Makes sense.
I'm going to push this line, and you can see that it's starting to add numbers. Let's see how it sounds there. It did it! Huh? But I don't know if you can notice this. What is this?
Okay.
Can you see what I'm doing?
Yeah, you're automating the progression basically.
Look.
Utilizando. Okay, that's very cool.
Isn't this
Okay,
amazing?
it's actually fantastic.
This is great, man. This is awesome. So now let's see, because I'm still not happy with the tuning of my sampler. So let's make sure that the sampler is actually correct. Let me go back to arrangement just to make sure we got the sampler selected. There it is. So let's bring back this guy. And so far you've been able to listen to everything, right?
Yeah.
No issues. Perfect. Okay. Let's keep fixing the tuning because it's a little bit off. So I'm gonna press play, and we're gonna keep tracking. We're gonna keep playing the same section just for a while until we finally get the proper tuning of the pad. Here we go. Let's see. It's better. So let's rebalance this and let's change the name to this guy. The name for this guy, rename. Here is. We're gonna call this bass. Oh, damn it.
Proper spelling.
Proper spelling, thank you.
Yes.
Yes. So now we kind of can trust the tuning. Let's address the pitch of the second scene for the bass. So I'm gonna select this guy. I'm gonna be pressing play for that particular scene. Do it. It's working.
Yeah.
So let's keep going. I'm gonna add for the same, but for the rest of the second for the rest of the path. And here we go. Again, we're gonna be doing the same. Kind of there, but you could hear a little bit of the artifacts, right?
Yeah. I think is it because the more you push, the more artifacts
Of
you're
course,
gonna have?
just start to get some issues. So let's try. Let's see with the pitch again. Let me see. We can change the mode. Let's try HD. And maybe instead of going that high, I'm gonna go the same but opposite. Better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and now let's go for the final one. Arrangement. Here we go. And yeah, you can do it as well from here.
Okay.
Let me just make sure that it's visible to everybody. Again, the same technique. Make sure that it's cycling. Here we go. Oh, it's the same. Wow. Yeah, I actually left the same. Nice, right?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. No, pretty cool.
But now, let's say that we want to do something different here. Let's say that you want to add a different. I'm gonna go to the editor because it's gonna be better. Let's say that you want to change one of the notes in the performance of this section.
Mm.
But you're doing with a pre-recorded sample, right?
Yeah.
Can you?
So I ask you, can
You
you?
can. Let me show you. You can see these tiny kind of arrow-looking things, right?
Yes.
Those are kind of like transient markers
Okay.
that Bitwig already detected. You can always add more, but what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use those transients to cut the different sections of the track because it's kind of getting all of the different transients right where they begin. Look,
Yeah.
very, very precise. And since I don't see the need for me to go near it, I'm just simply gonna right click, and I'm gonna cut all of the different sections of this sample using this grid. Okay, I'll do it easy. Slice and fold, slice in place, using the onsets because that's actually the name. Okay,
Okay. Of the markers.
of the markers. Bada bam. Nothing changed, right?
Yeah.
Did it? Look.
Ah, okay.
Ah,
Segmented. Yes.
and you can do the same I did on a little on a one by one basis, man.
Ah, okay, so you can go very, very
We're gonna go.
in-depth.
We're gonna go medieval on there on these guys. Okay, let's first. I'm gonna create a loop here so we can actually loop this region. Here we go. Let's change the pitch in that guy. Like.
Okay, that's actually pretty cool. So you can go very, very finicky.
You can go super surgical, man. This is insane, right?
Yep.
But it doesn't stop there. Let's say that we want to change the dynamics. For example, this section, I would like this guy to go a little bit louder. So we can do it by gain. This guy being the accent. What do you think?
Okay, no, that's actually pretty impressive. I think you can push a little bit the note that you changed. I think also it would be cool having it a little bit
Good
more
idea. Good idea.
accentuated.
Yeah. Yeah, but not that much.
Yeah, it was a bit too much, but,
Yeah, a
but
little
I think
bit
it
ridiculous.
will work.
But somewhere here.
Okay. Yeah, we're getting somewhere.
It's starting to sound like music, right?
Yeah.
Let's. This is awesome.
No, the amount of finicability of this doll is actually very impressive.
But you'll see, we're gonna keep adding stuff. Okay, now we got this. Let's go back to the arrangement. We can do the same to all of the different notes. Why don't we do it? Because we should. We are about to do it. Let's do it again. So you click on the sample, right click, splice, unfold, splice in place using the onsets because we know that it's gonna divide the sample correctly. We already did. It's the same sample, with different pitches. So let's begin. I'm gonna again make a cycle here, but make sure that we are actually triggering this region. Now let's say that you wanna change the way that this guy behaves.
In what way?
I don't know, like slicing it.
Okay.
We can do it by going here, adding onsets, and I'm gonna increase the resolution. So here, let's create a. Let's see how it sounds like. Sorry, make sure that I got the same. Ish. I don't know what happened. Go back to trash. No. Okay, let me see. Let me see what happened. I'll go back in time. Yeah. Wherever. We should be able to hear now. Yeah. Okay. Edit once again. I'm gonna select this guy, and now we're gonna be doing a little bit of operators. I'm gonna turn on the. You start to see what happened. Did you see?
Yeah, it's sliced into 5
Yeah.
different
See
pieces.
what's gonna happen. See how it's gonna behave. Huh?
Okay.
A little bit too much, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
let's see that. Let's see. Let's keep rocking with this guy because I think it could be potentially something, right? So let's keep effing around with this guy. I'm gonna go a little bit less insane because maybe 3, but I'm gonna push them a little bit off groovy. Let's
And it
see.
compensates. Okay, that's actually
It does.
quite cool.
It's super good. Let's see. I like it, but it's a little bit too much. Let's go for just two repetitions.
Like it.
Very cool, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is to start to a little bit of motion and differences between the different patterns. Let's play around with this one. I'm gonna go 1 second to onsets. We're gonna create here a new one. Go back to. We're gonna go for pitch, I think. So I think we could change the pitch in this guy. Oh, my mistake. Please do the slice. Unfold. Thank you. Bam. Look at that. Easy. So let's see. So cool. What do you think?
No, the editability is actually very remarkable. But now, quick question regarding this:
Go.
do you think that this level of editability, because this is insane, how nitty gritty you can go with the features of the software is kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Would you think that there is a threshold on which you should only tackle Bitwig if you are already on a certain level of production, or it might be too daunting for someone getting started, or
You mean like due to the capabilities of the software?
yeah, because once again, I already mentioned it before from a different angle. The whole thing about the creative paralysis due to the amount of options, the amount of things you can do,
Yes.
and now seeing how editable everything is and how in depth you can go, I'd say maybe someone who is, at least my perspective, someone who's only getting started in production, for instance, might be a little bit appalled
I don't
by the
know.
amount
I-
of options.
I get you, but I don't think it's a problem. Let me
Mm.
explain. Because I think if you get started with something like this,
Mm.
your entire understanding of what music production is will be based on what you do here.
Yeah.
So it could be beneficial because you can start off with a very avant-garde way of doing things.
Okay, so you think that it is a good option even for someone getting started in production?
Yeah, but it's for someone who would be quite invested on sampling, programming, synthesizer-based music.
Yeah, it's a style of production in of itself.
Yeah, it's kind of like ambient oriented or somebody who is gonna be producing good electronic music. Get me?
Yeah.
Like the kind of the one that is actual music.
Okay.
Get me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Now I feel that we can add some form of beat, right? A little bit of emotion, a little bit of
Rhythm.
to the whole equation. Not because it's because it's gonna inspires us to add more stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's do it. I'm gonna create a new channel, and we're gonna be using actually the drum machine, Bitwig's own drum machine. Here is. But what's the point? There's nothing here, not yet. Let's populate it. We're gonna do this. We're gonna create a drum machine, but I'm gonna actually use one of the synthesizer that is built in. Let's go for, just because I like the 808, I'm gonna use the 909. Okay. No, I actually, for whatever reason, I like the 909. Not better, but I happen to like the hi hats a lot. The 909, the hi hats and the clap.
The 808 is the one that's more boomy, right?
Yes, the 909 is the one that you hear in more electronic music, techno
Yeah.
in particular, and techno and acid. And 808 is hip hop and also plenty of pop music, okay, and electronic music as well. But 909 is a little bit more aggressive sound. That's probably the reason why I like it more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so first let me make sure that you can hear, you
Yeah.
can listen to it. Now you should, and it sounds like this. It's translating, right?
Yeah.
So you can see off the bat, you feel the rape.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
It's already like, damn, it's not good. It's gonna end badly. Okay, let's begin. I'm gonna, containers. This is important, but more on that later. And actually, we'll explain to you why you can insert plugins inside of the plugin or the sampler in this case. Once we reach the final stage of the project, which is going to be actually multi-outputting the different elements of this drum pattern of this drum kit on the independent tracks for mixing. But once we reach that stage, okay. For now, let's create music. Here we go. First, we don't have a pattern here. We can create it here, doing it the traditional method, double click, and we can begin doing this using the step sequencer. Yeah, we can. But what if I tell you that Bitwig has a a sequencer here? I'm going to insert. It's called stepwise. Yeah, that's the name. Here is. Bam, bam, bam.
Don't know what I'm looking at.
This is a step sequencer.
Okay.
C1 is going to be the kick.
Okay, so those are the different elements of the kit.
Yeah, how do we know? Easy. Look at here. Look over here. All of these notes, or all of these pads actually represents a note, as you can see here.
Yeah.
So this pad, which is empty, would be triggered by wherever is triggering C2. But since we don't have anything here, because this stepwise only reaches all the way up to 8 sample or 8 notes. Let me count them down because I'm kind of stupid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8. So if we press play. There is. It's already playing, but you can see that there's something off with the pattern, the length. Let's address it. Why? I don't know. Let's first make sure that we are playing the length correctly. Yeah, here's the problem. This pattern is shorter. So let's see, 1 bar.
Phasing 3.
Yeah, that's exactly what you were saying. Let's play around with it. There is always a way. As you can see, I didn't have to do anything. The situation was that the pattern, as it came out of the factory, I had to go for 4 to the floor just to confirm that we were in tempo. We are. Okay? So what does this do? As you can see, I don't have to have any form of pattern here on my cells for this pattern to be triggered. I'm gonna do a quick rebalance of my mix. So I'm gonna just do a very lame ass drum pattern. So excuse my lack of creativity, but it's just for mixing. Here we go. Quite groovy.
Yeah, it's actually already
Kinda, yes, it's starting to get somewhere. But the thing is this: it's kinda, of course, it's super robotic. I just had that super lame ass pattern because I wanted first to kinda have a little bit of how can I put it, a reference point so I could actually rebalance the sound of my mix. It could be that I might just do something very basic still. Let's go a little bit more creative. let me show you something. first. Yep, something like that. Let's try it here as well. And one thing, if you hold Option, you add accents.
Okay, cool.
So an accent in a drum machine is slightly more attack.
But
Okay?
it's velocity.
It's
that you're
velocity.
changing.
It's
Okay.
usually velocity. See what happens.
Okay, already has a little bit more motion.
It's groovier. But how about this? Can you see this section?
Yes, that's
16,
the
16,
subdivision,
16s. Is it?
I suppose.
Look at this.
Okay.
Can you see what this could do?
This can be a polar reading machine.
Yeah, that's why I got it. Look. By changing the size or the amount of steps of any of the lines, you start to create an offset
Mhm.
because the pattern is following a different sequence. How cool is that?
No, that's actually pretty
Oof,
badass.
man. So, and what if I tell you? You remember this?
Oh yeah, the automation thingy.
Let's say that we had, I don't know, a little fool.
I think we're getting into fuckery territory.
Yeah. And let's see what this thing's triggering. It's another kick. Another kick in the walls. Actually, trademarked. Okay, see what's gonna happen. This is a modulator, okay? And a modulator, basically speaking, allows you to do, in this case, an LFO, which in a traditional synthesizer, what you could do with an LFO, let me show you with the synth. Where's my cutoff? The cutoff frequency here. When you do this, you start to actually cut the sound of whatever you're producing here, right? In this case, it's gonna be a low pass filter, so you remove the low end. Okay, we gotta find a better way to do it. But actually, this is a good idea. We gotta come up with a different shot for this kind of.
I think if you frame it correctly, they can see it better.
Okay,
Look.
actually,
Okay,
good.
yes.
That's it. We don't have to. Excellent. So, what you would do, you can use the LFO, as you can see here. You can mod source. Yeah, this guy. If you select the LFO, the cutoff frequency is gonna move based on the speed of the LFO, which is a low frequency oscillator. Okay, that's what an LFO stands for. In Bitwig, you can do the same, but to everything. Every single knob, every single fader can be modulated through the use of an LFO or beyond. In this case, exactly. So in this case, we're going to be applying the LFO to the size of to the length of the pattern.
Okay. So it's gonna be not a randomizer because it's not gonna be random.
It will be
but-
random at one point. Because let's do it. You make the connection by clicking here and applying the LFO. You can go negative or positive. In this case, I'm gonna go negative because I cranked up the length of the range.
This thing is insane.
But I'm gonna lower the range. Look at that. Huh? And I will set the LFO to be synced to tempo. So, and we're gonna make it bipolar. Yeah, so it can go back and forth. So we're gonna be adding this. Let's see. Not that big of a difference yet, but let's say that we change these guys from to a different position. Here we go.
Okay, that's actually pretty cool.
Starting to get somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Good. Now, let's say that we want to do something fun with our hi-hats. let's do something like this. I'm gonna go very, very lame.
Lame indeed.
Lame indeed, but I'm gonna keep this open because that's where we got the open hat.
Mm-hmm.
But let's add a, sequencer. And let's apply it to the velocity. Velocity is controlled here. Okay. So we're gonna be applying it to the hi-hats. So here we go. I'm gonna just crank up. And you will see that my hi-hats, if I lower the... Can you see the small blue dot here? You can see that the small tip thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the hi-hat. That's the modulation.
Okay.
So let's see. Let's see. I want this to go even more extreme. I want it to fully affect, because each time this guy represents the top,
Mm-hmm.
the higher this goes is basically cranking up the dynamics. You start to see that it's starting to change the pattern. Let's go like this, and bipolar. Yeah, why not? And smoothing it out. Yeah, nah. And intensity. Yes. Let's see the rate. Go for 8 notes. Okay, starting to get somewhere, but I'm not fully convinced. Which one is my symbol? Let's see. Okay, this is the guy. It's a sample. Let's see why we're not getting the velocity. I guess it's using a sample. Let's change this guy. I'm gonna delete. Die! Let's bring its B, if I remember correctly, B9. Yeah, here it is. This is the close hi-hat, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Once again. I need to go faster. I need to go faster. To be frank, I don't like it. It was a good attempt, but whatever. So we're gonna bring back the hi-hat we got. Which was it? Let's go back in time. There we should be here now.
I think that you did plenty of things.
Yeah, all of the different attempts at failing. There it is. Here it is. Thank you.
Okay.
We just simply remove this guy. Perfect. Starting to get somewhere. I like that this one quite a lot. But let's say that we want to add a little bit of swing to the hi-hats. Not as consistent, right? There's a way to do it. Let's create another LFO. There it is. And let's see. This one I think is going to be a good idea to have it. Let's leave it as it is for now. And let's sync it to this. This is the offset. This area over here. Okay, the offset, it means how close to the beginning or how close to the grid is going to start. Okay, so if I push it here, you see, right?
Yeah.
So let's humanize it a little bit by adding this extra layer of motion, right? So I'm gonna put this LFO to control or to affect the hi-hats for now. Let's go for something like, no, 20%, nothing insane. And you can see that it's already doing it. It's starting to move it up and down. Here we go. How about that?
Yeah, actually now it's starting to swing, but in a way that makes sense because at the beginning
No, it was
way
a little bit too
off.
much. I'm gonna do the same now, but with the open hi-hat. By clicking on it, now it appears over here. So we can copy exactly the same amount of modulation, and it's gonna be applied as well to the other guy. Cool, but now why are we getting so many kicks? Sorry, I forgot. It's the one that I added as a randomized.
Yeah.
I like it, but it's too much, right?
Yeah.
Let's. I'm gonna lower the volume of that guy. Which
Maybe
is,
removing one of those kicks.
yeah, I might remove this guy to get it off. And I'm gonna change the velocity a little bit less intense. And volume, which one is that? Let me make sure that E1. So let's see. It's gonna be this. Yes, this guy. So let's lower the volume. Here's the output. Here we go. Well, that
Okay.
starting to get somewhere, right? Now
Yeah.
it sounds a little bit like music. It's not necessarily speaking super complex yet, but it's starting to get somewhere. I am starting to like as well the swing on the hi-hats. I could do a little bit with a little bit more. Let's try it. Let's do it again. Here it is. You know what would be cool? A little bit of perks. Let's see if we got in this group. So thumbs, symbols. Maybe these or thumbs. Let's see. Thumb. Do you see what's going on?
Oh, with the clap.
This guy, the clap is slower. Protapa, right?
Yeah. Okay, remove the first one and put it in front of the other guy. I think it's gonna be cooler. That guy?
You mean here?
No, no, in front of the of just in front. The next one.
It was there.
No, yeah,
After.
there.
Maybe here another one, but that could be affecting the beginning. But whatever.
Mm.
I can do that later. There are ways to do it. But what I want to show you with this is that you can see here that we got notes. Because pay attention to this lane, okay? I'm going to change to a different musical phrase because enough. This guy starts, everything starts at the same time, but here's the big one. The tempo of each is dictated by a different subdivision. These are actually subdivisions. As you can see, all of these guys are going with a 16 note, but these two guys are going for 8. That's why they're slower. And this guy is filling up 1 bar for it to come back.
Is it a crash?
It could be crash. Yeah, but in this case, I will go for, let's see, what options do we got? A bar is the longest you can get. In this case, this needs to be bigger. And this is the biggest you can get, because this should be happening every 2 bars for it to make sense, because the whole musical phrase is comprised of 2 bars rather than 1. I will do it using a different method. More on that later. But as you can see, this is badass, right?
Yeah, it's actually pretty impressive.
So what do you think? Final thoughts? Because this is actually, I'm going to save it.
Okay, yeah, do.
There we go. Saved.
Okay, no, honestly, I'm kind of blown away by the amount of things you can do with this. It is very, very in depth. That's a given. I think it's something that if you're, I think it will have an appeal for a very specific kind of person that likes to be finicky.
Yes.
That likes to go and tweak as much as possible, because the tweakability of this is actually kind of insane. But I can see the appeal. I can definitely see the appeal.
Yeah, this is for someone who is willing to spend the time learning, not the software. These are the principles, because again, everything I'm doing here is what you do with a modular system or with analog synthesizers.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing outside of the ordinary in that regard. But if you're not familiar with anything related to the mathematics that are involved in patching stuff in and sequencing stuff, you're gonna have a hard time. But if you start off from the beginning of your career and you have this kind of sound in your head, you like I don't know, like good Daft Punk.
Mm-hmm.
This is full on what they do. That's why they get the sound they get. That's the reason why their music sound the way it does.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are using samples, synthesizer sequencers, the entire shebang, and it shows. That's why it has that groovy jet kind of mechanical sound to the music.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm more impressed by, or maybe one of the coolest features that come along with this kind of workflow, is the fact that these automations, all of these moves where the machine become a part of the motion of the sound, it kind of takes the whole process in a different direction, because the process itself becomes inspiring, and then you kind of go along with kind of this kind of exchange between the human and machine going on.
Exactly. So yeah, and that's the beauty of electronic music. That's actually what makes electronic music so unique to itself, and it shows you. This at least is starting to show you that you do need to have good understanding of music theory in order to create music using this kind of systems. This is not pushing and twisting. This is not pushing buttons and twisting knobs. because see how important it is for the synchronization purposes, understanding tempo.
Hmm.
And once we start to add rhythmic, melodic patterns using sequencers, it's going to be super important. Actually, well, I didn't do it here because the pitch is not necessarily representing the how I when I repitch the sound of the bass.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with an arpeggiator, for example, and you're using it as using a sequencer to draw to affect the notes, you need to understand the different roles of what is a fifth, a fourth, a third when it comes to the whole harmony. If you don't understand that, you're gonna end up with you're gonna stop. You're gonna waste a lot of time trying to find the right note that creates the right sound or correlates correctly.
Yeah.
And since synthesizers or sequencers, for that matter, uh, rely on that particular understanding of music theory, if you don't know it, you're gonna fail. So, for those of you who like to look down on electronic music or consider it to be just twisting knobs and pushing buttons, uh, I can see where you're coming from. But it's because the good stuff, the one that is done like this, is not necessarily the one that is promoted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So
a criticism that you can understand what it comes from.
yes, it's
Definitely.
not. It's not. I understand that it's not coming. It's not free.
Yeah.
They there is a bad. The bad reputation was acquired, well, by its own merits. But I'm defending the good stuff and the ones that do it correctly. So I hope I didn't go that technical because when I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep it understandable.
Yeah.
Because this whole live streams are designed for people who might be interested on getting into Bitwig, or simply put, somebody who would like to see how it's done from a different perspective. You might be coming from Logic. I'm actually a huge Logic Pro user. That's my main platform when it comes to music production. That is great, and it forces you to think in a different fashion. Because in this project, I will not use any of my instruments. I'm gonna sequence everything. That's the plan.
Yeah.
So stay tuned because next week we're going to be adding even more crazy stuff. And I'm trying to show you different sections of what Bitwig has to offer session by session. So stay tuned for that one. So with that being said, if you like this kind of content, the best way to do this is by listening to music on Apple Music or Spotify that has nothing to do with electronic music, mind you. And
Except the use of synths.
except the use of synths because I love those efforts. And also you can follow us on social media such as Instagram and X because that's the best way for you to get in touch with us in a much more personal basis. Now, with that being said, there is a Discord that you can join. We are inviting you right away because it's where the fun is allegedly meant to be had. And well, actually, that's where we have discussions regarding music that doesn't suck, and actually, I can answer to more questions in a much more direct fashion. There is a specific tab that is for dealing with this kind of stuff. Okay, so the only thing left to be reminded is that you should never let anybody tell you what to dream about, and remember that we'll see you when we see you.